Good afternoon. I'm glad you can take some time to devote to worship. Today we are celebrating Palm Sunday, and so this is a joyous day, a day we're marking the transition from Lent to the sort of steady progress towards Easter, and now we're kind of in the home stretch. And so here we go. We will be marking the steps between Palm Sunday and Easter on Thursday at Shelbina Methodist Church at 6 o'clock. We'll be marking the Last Supper and the crucifixion, 6 o'clock. And then the next day, on Friday, we'll be marking the Last Supper and the crucifixion over at Monroe City at that church, also at 6 o'clock. And then Easter, we will celebrate at our usual times, 9 over at Monroe City, 10:30 here in Shelbina. And I am very excited about that. This is going to be my first Sunday, my first Easter in Monroe City, and I'm excited for that. And then over here in Shelbina, we're going to be having a quintet/quartet, depending upon what I'm doing. I'll be able to jump in and play a few times, but I'm looking forward to this Sunday. I hope you can be part of worship wherever you are, whether it's with a congregation close to you or here, one of these churches. So, today I want to look at something that we don't see in our hymnals. We have the Methodists, we have our hymnals, and in the front of our hymnals, if you flip through the first pages, you will find something called Wesley's Rules for Singing. It doesn't surprise me that Wesley had rules for singing. Wesley had methods or rules or approaches for a lot of the ways of how church worked, and so he had rules for singing. And to go through, there are 7 of them. He points out, first rule, learn these tunes before any others. Second rule, sing as they're printed here. Third rule, sing all. See that you join the congregation as frequently as you can. Let not a slight degree of weakness or weariness hinder you. If it is a cross to you, take it up and you will find it a blessing. Right? Singing, that is. Rule 4, sing lustily and with good courage. Beware of singing as if you were half dead or half asleep, but lift up your voice with strength. Right? Sing modestly. Do not bawl so as to be heard above or distinct from the rest of the congregation, but strive to unite your voices together. Rule 6. Sing in time. Whatever time is sung, keep with it. Do not run before or stay behind, but attend closely to the leading voices. And take care you sing not too slow. This drawing away naturally steals on all who are lazy, and it is high time to drive it out from amongst us and sing all of our tunes just as quickly as we first did. Above all, sing spiritually, which is this idea of paying attention to the words that we are saying. I've heard it said that to sing a hymn is to pray twice. There's the words and then the singing. So pay attention to what we are saying. It is worth pondering these words, and I appreciate specifically this day. We're looking at the 4th and the 6th of them. Beware of singing as if half dead or half asleep, but lift up your voice with strength. The second part of that rule is rather amusing. Be no more afraid of your voice now, nor more ashamed of it being heard than when you sang the songs of Satan. Like as he's taking a swing at sing bar songs you would sing it in bars, right? You take it, like people in the modern version would be like, if you can sing along to the radio with some oomph and some gusto, like sing like that when he gets to singing hymns and sing with that same sort of oomph, right? But don't sing as if half dead. And for the love of God, do not slow down and drag the hymns into being. And I know you've had that experience, right? If you've been in church for any length of time, you have experienced a hymn that was neither fast enough to be joyous, nor slow enough to turn into that like stomp that can happen, that sort of shuffle stomp, but turns into that worst version of a hymn, so the sort of dirge tempo that is just. As you start singing it, you ponder yourself, how many verses are there? Oh my Lord, there are 5 verses. I'm not sure I can make this. Maybe you've never thought that. I know that I have. And just to give you an example, like Amazing Grace, a hymn we all know, like it either needs to be that kind of stomp, Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Like you can hear the triplet driving along. Da 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 da. Like you can hear the drive to the, you can, so the hymn either needs to have that slow shuffling drive to it, or you can have like Amazing Grace. Like there's Canadian Brass do a version of Amazing Grace, which is just phenomenal. And they do like both sides of this, that sort of like slow shuffling stomp, or they do that upbeat quick thing, and like and they capture this sense, like Amazing Grace has such drive to it. It's so beautiful, and we can sing in a way that can suck all the amazing out of it, can't we? Now, I think of this week because that shuffling, that stomp, that sort of driving feel, like the place you hear that today, like if you want to hear that live, you go down to New Orleans, and you go to one of the street bands, the street parades, and that's kind of that style of music that would be played. And we're marking Palm Sunday today. And Palm Sunday is when Jesus is going into Jerusalem like his ancestor did centuries before. The first time the sort of going in and bringing God into Jerusalem, it wasn't Jesus in Palm Sunday, it was his ancestor David. So if you go back to David, as he is putting together the 12 tribes to form the kingdom of Israel with the capital at Jerusalem, he has this problem. He's got to get the ark into the city. And he's tried once before, and it has failed. It's in 2 Samuel 6 is when this unfolds, the early part of 2 Samuel. But we can get into the failure another time. But now he has to try again. And he can try and be serious about it. Like, this is important. It's something to be serious about it. And he can have this somber sort of like procession to move the ark into the city of Jerusalem to mark that God is the leader of this kingdom, and he is the one who's going to follow God. And the Ark of the Covenant has the 10 Commandments in it. So, like, this is the center of their faith. They need this at the center of the kingdom of the nation. And so David does not choose to have this dour, serious procession. He dances. He goes out there, and they have this like parade that brings the ark into the city, and he dances, and there is music, and there is food as they're having these sacrifices along the way. And I have this image of like a New Orleans style of street and brass and that Amazing Grace type of music playing, and it's beautiful to imagine. But not everyone got excited about this, right? 2 Samuel 6:15, we read, "So David and all of the house of Israel were bringing up the ark of the Lord with shouting and the sound of trumpet. Then it happened as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David that Michal, the daughter of Saul, the previous king," so David has married the daughter of the previous king, that legitimizes his claim to the throne, looks out the window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him. Strong language there. To despise someone, right? That is not a good thing. She did not approve. He was not being serious, right? Just not being serious about this. With all this upbeat singing and food and dancing and all this rejoicing, this was an important matter and needed to be handled with dignity, right? And that's what happens then. And if we fast forward to David's descendant, like Jesus, he continues to do this. When something is important, that doesn't mean it has to be serious. And so Jesus creates wine for a party, a wedding party. And weddings are very serious, they're very important, but that doesn't mean they're serious. They're important, but they don't have to be serious. And in fact, this is like a 4-day, this is a big extended event that Jesus is at. And so it's important because two people are coming together, but it is joyous and laughter and feasting and people together. And Jesus makes wine for them. He makes wine when all the previous wine has run out, which means that they have had a good time thus far. And then Jesus goes and he makes not just a little bit more wine. Jesus makes almost 200 gallons more wine. That is an awesome amount of wine. I'm not even sure would 200 gallons fit in a refrigerator, or would I need multiple? I don't know. All I do know is when you have that much wine involved, it is not going to be serious. There is going to be a lot of laughter and dancing and joking, and that's what happens there. When Jesus gets people together, he feeds them, he brings them together. They are joyous, they are happy to be there and to be hearing what Jesus has to say. He is healing, he is teaching, it's fun, right? It is a good thing, it's important, but it's not that Jesus shows up and we all must be serious now. And so when Jesus, we read a few chapters later in John, the 6th chapter of John, and people have come to hear him teach because they need to hear him. And then Jesus feeds them, and he feeds so many people. It's the feeding of the 5,000. This is such an important event that it's the only miracle that's in all 4 of the Gospels. And so Jesus feeds thousands of people. They count the men. There's a chauvinism here. That's a whole other discussion. But for 5,000 men, there had to have been women and children too. So there's far more than 5,000 people. And if you think about what it'd be like to have that many people fed spontaneously and joyously and wonderfully, right? This would be great. Right? You just look at how often when Jesus enters a city or he gathers with people, he's talking about the parable of the wedding feast, and he enters a city and he calls out to Zacchaeus in the tree, come down, salvation has come to your house. I'm going to eat with you. Let's go eat, right? And Jesus is going in to celebrate the Passover in Jerusalem, which is a meal that's a feast of good news. And so we come to this moment when Jesus is entering into Jerusalem. And so this is important, but it is not serious. It is not somber. It's not a procession. It is people ripping off palm trees so they have something to wave and play with as they show up and they gather around someone who is riding on a war horse, a chariot. No, dude's on a donkey, right? This is not this is not like this serious, respectable thing. But this is Jesus coming in on a donkey, and they're singing together. That's what you do. On the way of Jerusalem, there's a whole chunk of the book of the Psalms that are called the Psalms of Ascent, because you ascend up to Jerusalem. And everyone knew all of the Psalms, everyone had them memorized, and everyone knew how they sang these because they would sing them every year, the same way we sing Christmas carols at Christmas, right? The Jewish people, as they're heading up to Passover, as they're ascending up to Jerusalem at the top of the mountain, they would be singing these Psalms of Ascent. And so if you think of the way, I imagine another musical moment, if you've been at a big ball game at the 7th inning stretch and everyone stands up and starts singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and everyone sort of launches into that, and everyone's having a hot dog and a beer and enjoying themselves. That same sense of we're going somewhere, we're going together, here we go to Jerusalem, and we're going to have a feast when we get there, and isn't it wonderful? That is the feeling of what's happening as they're going into Jerusalem. All right, it's a moment of joy. And Jesus does not look around and say, okay, settle down, serious now, everyone be serious, this is important, everyone be serious. No, Jesus is there with them. I somehow imagine he is singing with all the rest, waving a palm tree, waving a palm leaf. It's just how they get into the city. They're celebrating. This is a moment of joy. We are coming up on a season of a lot of celebrations and joy, like transitions and graduations, as the weather pulls us outside and we grill and we can say hey to our neighbors that we haven't seen all winter, and such moments that we celebrate, and celebrating Easter, right? They are important, but that doesn't mean they need to be serious, right? I often, as you may have noticed by now, I love the Muppets. And this is there are times to be Sam the Eagle, but this is Kermit the Frog. Yay! Yay! Hands in the air. This is time for joy. And so, as we come to this season of Easter, please laugh and sing. Sing heartily. Sing with some gusto. Sing with some excitement. Sing fast. Turn on loud music. Join together with people and have meals where the food is overflowing and you simply enjoy each other's company, because that is what we see Jesus doing. God has given us this amazing world and this amazing good news of Jesus Christ and the amazing news of Easter. This is a season for laughter and joy, and so please enjoy yourself. Amen.